And welcome back. It's segment 2 of episode 6 of Hawk TV. They said we wouldn't last through one episode. They were almost right, but they don't pay us to do this, so we just keep on doing it. Hawk TV, AJ Mansour is the man behind the scenes. Thank you, AJ. I don't say that enough for all the great work you do on Hawk TV. Episode 6 features the great Lieutenant Larry Yatch, who is with Sealed Mindset and is a former Navy SEAL. Before the break, we were talking about you making the announcement to your dad that you were going to go to become a Navy SEAL, and then getting into the Naval Academy and such like that. Before we even talk about having to get into being the SEALs, was the Naval Academy tough?
It's more of a prison than it is a college.
Really?
So yeah, you have to do all of this normal stuff you do in college academically, because all of the normal stuff you do in college you don't get to do at the Naval Academy.
Right.
But you're actually in the Navy, so you're commissioned in the Navy. You're active duty Navy, and with that you have all the additional responsibilities of all the military stuff. So a light semester for a midshipman is 18 hours, 18 credit hours.
Yeah.
On average, you're running 19, 20, 21 credit hours every semester. There is no 13 credit hour semester. Right. You can't be late for a class ever. You can't just, I wake up, I'm hungover, I'm not going. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You actually would get in all sorts of trouble if you just don't show up to a class. If you're 5 minutes late to a class, someone's asking you, where the hell were you? And you have to follow up with it. Uniforms, you aren't allowed to leave as a freshman, you aren't allowed to leave the campus at all, except for 12 hours on Saturday. That's
Really?
it. And beyond that, you're stuck morning, noon, and night. When I was there, that was before cell phones really came out. Actually, it was before anyone had a cell phone. And you don't have a phone. We weren't allowed to have any music. No civilian clothes, uniform 24 hours a day, including the 12 hours you're off. As a sophomore, you still don't get to leave during the week, but you get to leave every Saturday and half the day on Sunday. And a couple weekends a semester, you can leave Friday night and come back Sunday, and that continues all the way through your senior year. At no point do you have free access to come and go.
So do you graduate and then go to SEAL school and try to become SEAls? How that works? Okay.
So the point of the Naval Academy is to develop officers.
Right,
so
okay, sure.
It's basically college. You go through 4 years of school. You get a bachelor's of science degree when you leave, and you get a lot of experience in. I mean, we have every semester. You have a naval leadership class. Like, you have a class on how to lead. Right. It's a full semester class. Then, on top of that, every summer is broken up into 3 blocks. 2 of the 3 blocks, basically 2 of the 3 months of the summer, you have to do some sort of naval obligation. So you only get 30 days off a year as a normal midshipman. For me, I always volunteered to do extra stuff. So I had my 4 years at the academy, I had 28 days off the entire time, short of holidays. Wow. And the summers that when I would have that month of free time, I would volunteer to go to airborne school or go to dive school. And that was always a competition. So I was having to do extra work to compete to get my vacation taken away every year.
So you graduate, I'm sure, with honors or something like that.
Not me, as not quite.
Okay, all right.
Not the smartest. Not the smartest kid. But
well, it's always who works hardest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go straight from there then to SEAL school?
Yep. So your senior year, you have, in my class, my Naval Academy class, we started with 1,200, and we probably ended up with right around 1,000.
Okay.
And those 1,000 go to all aspects of the Navy and Marine Corps. So what you have to do is actually apply for a job in the Navy. Now, you have to serve. So by getting the 4 years of college, you owe them 5 years of service. So it's not a free education. But what you're going to do in the Navy is determined by what you apply to do. Okay. So say you want to be a fighter pilot, you have to apply, go through their process, and they pick X many pilots. And it's the same thing with if you want to go to the Marine Corps, if you want to drive a ship. And it's the same thing with SEALs. The problem with wanting to become a SEAL is there was 200 or so guys that wanted to do it, and there's only 15 spots. So you're now talking, we had 12,000 applicants for my class, narrowed down to 1,200. Of the 1,200, only top 1,000 really made it to the senior year. And then you get 200 of some of the best in the country that are competing for 15 spots. To me, one of the hardest things I've done was be able to get one of those spots, because when they narrowed it down to the final competing group, it was about 55 guys. And those 55 guys are amazing. Any one of them could have gone to training and done well, but they have to pick the top ones.
Right.
So we had to compete on three tasks. The first one was a physical fitness test. And the physical fitness test was, it's a 500-meter swim, side stroke, and then you immediately get out and do 2 minutes, as many push-ups as you can do, 2 minutes, as many sit-ups as you can do, and then as many pull-ups as you can do without letting go of the bar. So if you can hang there for half an hour doing pull-ups, keep doing pull-ups. As soon as you finish those 3 things, you go out and do a 1.5 mile run in boots and long pants. And what they do is take the seconds of the swim, 3 times the push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups, and the seconds of the run, and subtract the push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups from the run time and swim time, and rank you from 1 to 55.
How'd you do?
I was 10th. And it was, but what's interesting is who you're competing against.
Yeah.
So in the swim, I was competing against a guy, a very good friend of mine, who missed the Olympic team for 200-meter breaststroke by 1/100th of a second. So you're competing against people that, I mean, literally Olympic caliber swimmers.
Right.
I mean, the guy swam the 500 meters in just over 4 minutes or something like that. I mean, just insane.
So out of those 55 people, 15 got in.
Yep. So after the physical test, you go into academics. So everything you've done from the first day you showed up, so every class you've ever taken, any demerit you ever got, in all those summer things you get ranked, every semester you get ranked, and from at the very end of the day, there's number 1 through number 1,000, so that's your class rank, and it's more than just how you did academically, so they take those and just score you from 1 to 55 as to class rank. And then the last step is an interview. So you have to walk in to this boardroom, and there was 12 SEALs sitting there, from a senior enlisted guy, multiple enlisted guys, 1 junior, couple senior, to we had the head of all SEAL detailing, meaning the guy that decided where every SEAL in the country went, what team they went to, what job they did. And they're sitting there, and it could be an hour or as long as 2-3 hours. They just ask you questions, and they just fire one question after another at you, and you answer, and then they rank you from 1 to 55, and then they consolidate those 3 and pick the top 15.
So when it came, so you were 10th when it came to the physical thing. When it came to everything, do you
they
know where
they never told you. All you cared is that you were in
15.
those 15. But the type of people that you're with, we had the captain of the football team and the co-captain of the football team. The captain was a lineman. He lost 160 pounds to go to Buds, just of muscle, because he was so big. And we had the captain and the co-captain of the boxing team. Both were 4-time national champions. One was a heavyweight, one was a lightweight. We had the captain of the water polo team, that Olympic caliber swimmer.
Yeah, right.
We had captain of the wrestling team. I mean, you get the theme, right?
All those guys made it, though, or some of those guys didn't make it?
Through SEAL training?
Yeah, to become
those were
SEALs.
those 15.
Those
yeah.
were the 15. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, we had the guy that was number 2 in the class and the guy that was second from the bottom.
Really?
Yep, he was the swimmer, so
Yeah,
he had
right.
other things going for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's just amazing, and part of the reason that you don't quit too is I knew that there was 35 other guys that would have passed, and if I quit, I took a spot from them.
Right.
And when it comes to the academy, everyone's going to know the 15 guys that get the SEALs just because it's so hard to get the training.
Right.
So the last thing you would want to do is have the word go out that, oh, Larry quit.
Is it by 75 miles the hardest thing you've ever done to make it through that training?
I think the hardest thing I've ever done is start this business.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Sealed mindset's the hardest thing you've ever done.
By far.
Really?
Hands down.
Interesting.
And
why?
The main reason why is SEAL training, 6 months. If I don't quit, it's 6 months. If I pass everything, it's 6 months. I can do anything, right?
Legitimately anything.
Yeah, and well, for 6 months.
Yeah.
Go stand on your head for 3 hours. Well, it's 3 hours. I'll do it. It might hurt, but you can do it. When you're starting a business, there is no end, and the buck stops with you. Everything, and there is no finish.
Yeah.
And
right. No
that's the hardest thing. I mean, it just grinds. And my wife and I have been working on this for 6 years. Yeah. Because we don't do anything, halfway. Yeah. It's got to be 110%. It's got to be perfect. So, with that, we didn't just jump in and build a place to have people come shoot. We developed our own curriculum. We tested, we hired experts in how to teach adults because we wanted to make sure that what we were doing was the best in the country.
Right.
And designing, instead of just building a range, designing it to our specific specifications.
You said on the show that when you went to become a SEAL, when you decided that's what you were going to do, when you went into the training, you knew you weren't going to quit. You might not be one of the 15, but you were not going to quit. That said, was there a moment that was so hard, so tough, so draining, you felt so horrible that you weren't sure you were going to be able to physically make it?
There was many times where you didn't know if you were going to physically make it, and there was many times where you wanted beyond anything else for your body to just quit. Right? Because there's a difference between physically being unable to do it and mentally deciding not to. And when you get to that position, like I said, of I can't quit, it's not an option, then it's just, I hope my heart blows up. I hope my legs, I get run over by a car when we're crossing the street. Like those type of things were thoughts quite often. Wow. Because then it's not a decision to quit, it's something out of your control.
You can't help it, right. You have an excuse.
There was one time, and what's interesting is my closest friend from the academy were roommates. We were roommates at Bud's, went through SEAL training together, really, really good friends. We were sitting and talking it was about a year or two ago, and people often ask, were there any times where you wanted to quit, like those type of times? So I brought it up to him. I asked him the same thing. So was there any time, because we went through training basically side by side, and both of us had one time where we both, the closest we came to, and the way I put it is, I still remember it clear as day. It was 2 weeks from graduation, so it was very end of training, and we were out at San Clemente Island, which is out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It was early April. It was like almost snow flurrying out, just because it was a freak cold spell, freezing, and this was class had screwed up, so now it was 3 or 4 in the morning, and this is this third session of just getting tortured by the instructors, and it's freezing cold, and we're doing this event where take the whole class. At this point, we had about 30 people in the class. Everyone strips down, basically naked, and all the clothes get thrown on a pile. So you're in this cement grinder, and they're spraying you with fire hoses, and it's 40-some degrees out. And then it was, you've got 3 minutes, everyone needs to have socks on. And then, okay, you get your socks on, you got 45 seconds, everyone needs to have pants on. And then if you didn't meet the time, strip, go jump in the ocean, come back, start over again. And they know exactly how long it takes. And on top of that, now that I've been on the other side of the training, they'll grab 3 pairs of socks and put them in their pockets. So it doesn't even matter if you make the time or not. And so this went on for 3 hours. I mean, easily 3 hours. And I remember we're now another session. I'm like running down the beach with like a sock on and my shirt unbuttoned. And the thought I had was, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it wasn't that I I want to quit, or it was just, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I remember feeling like that, and no more than 5 seconds later, not even, it was almost instantaneously, I see Andrews, I still remember the guy's name, he was in our class the whole time. He's running the other direction up with sand on, and he looked more pathetic than I felt. And I remember that was all it took, right? Never mind. I mean, it could be worse. And so what's interesting is when I was asking Ed the same question, he, as soon as I said it, before it was out of my mouth, he's like, oh yeah. And he went into his story, and it was a completely different time. Like, he didn't even really remember what I was talking about that was so impactful for me. And the time that he was talking about, I kind of vaguely remember what he was, the incident that it was, but he had the same thought. And what was interesting was the same effect was someone in the class either did something or said something that changed it. You know, so it was, and they say that the soldiers fight for the person next to them, not for some grand cause. And it is true, even on this level, you know, getting through training is done as a team. It's not done as individuals. I mean, you need to have the individual drive, but it is very much a team thing. Lieutenant
Larry Yatch is my guest on Hawk TV. This is episode 6, and we're I shouldn't say we. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever said. Larry is now a Navy SEAL. Now you have actually been chosen as one of the 15. We go into your time as an actual Navy SEAL when we come back in the next segment. Also, we'll get you all the information about how to check out Sealed Mindset as well. Hawk TV, episode 6, recording it now with Lieutenant Larry Yatch, former Navy SEAL.